Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
The 2nd century anatomical and physiological treatise on the usefulness of the parts of the body stands as a monumental testament to Galen of Pergamon's intellectual prowess and profound influence on the course of Western medicine. This extensive work methodically explores the intricate design and purposeful function of various anatomical structures, reflecting Galen's conviction in the inherent teleology of nature. This essay undertakes a comprehensive evaluation of the core claims and arguments presented within this landmark text, examining the evidence, methodology, and logical coherence that underpin Galen's anatomical and physiological assertions. The analysis will proceed section by section, providing a structured and detailed assessment of the enduring significance of Galen's contribution to the understanding of the human body. Section 1: Galen's Proem and Foundational Principles. The opening sections of On the Usefulness of the Parts of the Body establish Galen's philosophical framework and present his fundamental assumptions about the nature of the human body. He immediately introduces the notion that nature does nothing without purpose, establishing a teleological perspective that pervades the entire work. This assertion is not merely a theological statement, but serves as a guiding principle for his anatomical investigations. He argues that careful observation and reasoned interpretation can reveal the inherent design and intention behind every anatomical structure. Furthermore, Galen explicitly distinguishes himself from those who attribute anatomical features to chance or necessity, aligning himself with a tradition that emphasizes intelligent design. He posits that the body's components are not haphazardly arranged, but rather meticulously crafted to serve specific functions. Galen uses the analogy of a skilled craftsman to illustrate nature's ingenuity, suggesting that just as a craftsman carefully selects and arranges materials to create a functional object, so too does nature skillfully construct the human body. This introductory section, while brief, lays the groundwork for the subsequent anatomical descriptions and functional interpretations. It reveals Galen's unwavering belief in the inherent rationality and purposefulness of the natural world, a belief that shapes his entire approach to anatomical investigation. Section 2: Osteology and the Skeletal System. Galen's discussion of the skeletal system provides a foundational element upon which he builds higher biological systems. He begins by emphasizing the strength and rigidity of bones and their suitability for providing structural support and protection. He argues that the shape and arrangement of individual bones are specifically tailored to the forces they must withstand and the movements they must facilitate. For instance, he describes the vertebrae as being uniquely shaped to allow for flexibility of the spine, while simultaneously protecting the spinal cord. Similarly, Galen notes the robust nature of the femur, the bone of the thigh, which must bear a considerable weight when standing or walking. He meticulously examines the articulations between bones, recognizing the importance of ligaments and cartilages in providing stability and smooth movement. He explains how the different types of joints, such as hinge joints and balance socket joints, allow for various ranges of motion. Furthermore, Galen explores the role of bone marrow, identifying it as a source of nourishment for the bone itself as well as a site of blood formation, although his understanding of this process is notably imprecise compared to modern understanding. His systematic analysis of the skeletal system exemplifies his meticulous observational skills and his commitment to understanding the functional significance of anatomical structures. He convincingly demonstrates how the design of the skeleton is intimately linked to its role in supporting the body, protecting vital organs and enabling movement, thereby strengthening his overarching argument for the purposeful nature of anatomical. Section 3: Myology and Muscular Function. Galen's exploration of the muscular system demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of muscle action and its role in generating movement. He carefully differentiates between different types of muscles, Recognizing their diverse shapes and arrangements and their corresponding functions, he accurately describes the attachment of muscles to bones via tendons, explaining how muscle contraction pulls on bones to produce movement at joints. Galen proposes that muscles generally work in opposing pairs, with one muscle contracting to produce a specific movement and its antagonist muscle relaxing to control the movement. He uses the example of the biceps and triceps muscles in the arm to illustrate this principle, noting that contraction of the biceps flexes the elbow joint while contraction of the triceps extends the elbow. He carefully describes the innervation of muscles by nerves, recognizing that nerves transmit signals from the brain to the muscles, initiating muscle contraction. However, his understanding of the precise mechanisms of nerve transmission is necessarily limited, reflecting the scientific constraints of his era. Galen recognizes the importance of proper muscle tone in maintaining posture and stability. He argues that even when muscles are at rest, they maintain a slight degree of tension, which helps to prevent joints from collapsing and allows for rapid responses to external stimuli. Though his understanding of cellular composition is absent, his work nonetheless lays out a comprehensive model for muscle action based on observable structures and phenomena. Section 4, Splanchenology and the visceral organs. Galen's examination of the visceral organs reveals his remarkable capacity for observation and his insightful interpretations of organ function. He meticulously describes the anatomy of the heart, recognizing its muscular nature and its role in pumping blood throughout the body. He accurately identifies the valves of the heart and their function in ensuring unidirectional blood flow, but he does not fully grasp the circulatory pathway. Galen proposes that the liver is the source of blood and the site of nutrient processing, which is an understanding that departs from modern physiological views, but is consistent with his understanding of digestion. He recognizes the importance of the stomach in breaking down food and the intestines in absorbing nutrients. He accurately describes the peristaltic movements of the intestines, explaining how these movements propel food along the digestive tract. Galen identifies the kidneys as organs responsible for filtering waste products from the blood and producing urine. He correctly describes the anatomy of the kidneys, including the renal cortex, renal medulla, and renal pelvis, and he understands that urine is transported from the kidneys to the bladder via the ureters. Galen's descriptions of these organs, while lacking the precision of modern anatomical knowledge, demonstrate his meticulous attention to detail and his efforts to understand organ function based on observed structures and processes. Section 5, Neurology and the Nervous System. Galen's exploration of the nervous system represents a significant contribution to the understanding of the brain and its role in sensory perception, motor control, and higher cognitive functions. He identifies the brain as the central organ of the nervous system and the seat of the soul. He carefully describes the different regions of the brain, including the cerebrum, cerebellum, and brainstem, and he proposes that each region is responsible for specific functions. Galen argues that the cerebrum is the center of sensation and perception, while the cerebellum coordinates movement and balance. He recognizes that nerves transmit sensory information from the body to the brain and motor commands from the brain to the muscles. He differentiates between sensory nerves and motor nerves, although his understanding of the precise nature of nerve transmission is limited by the scientific knowledge of his time. Galen recognizes the importance of the spinal cord in transmitting signals between the brain and the rest of the body. He accurately describes the anatomy of the spinal cord, including the grey matter and white matter, and he understands that damage to the spinal cord can result in paralysis or loss of sensation. Galen's insights into the nervous system, while not without their limitations, represent a remarkable achievement of anatomical investigation and physiological interpretation. He correctly identifies the brain as the central organ of the nervous system and recognizes its role in sensory perception, motor control, and higher cognitive functions, laying foundation for future advances in neuroscience. Section 6, Pneumatology and the Vital Spirits. Galen's concept of pneuma, or vital spirit, constitutes a central element of his physiological system. He postulates that pneuma is a subtle, airy substance that permeates the body and is essential for life. Galen identifies 3 distinct types of pneuma. Natural pneuma, he believes, arises in the liver and is responsible for nutrition and growth. Vital pneuma, generated in the heart, governs warmth and respiration. Animal pneuma, located in the brain, directs sensation, movement and thought. He proposes that pneuma is transported throughout the body via the blood vessels and nerves, facilitating various physiological processes. He suggests that the lungs play a crucial role in cooling the blood, preventing it from overheating due to the body's internal heat. He also believes that the lungs are responsible for purifying the air that enters the body, removing harmful substances and extracting vital components. Galen's concept of pneuma reflects his attempt to integrate philosophical ideas about the soul and the elements with his anatomical observations and physiological interpretations. While this concept has largely been superseded by modern understanding of biochemistry and cellular processes, it remains an important aspect of Galenic physiology and reflects the intellectual context in which his anatomical and physiological investigations were situated. Pneuma, in essence, serves as the intermediary substance through which the body operates, explaining phenomena that are otherwise unexplainable within the limited scope of second-century science. Section 7. Reproduction and embryology. Galen's exploration of reproduction and embryology reveals a combination of astute observations and speculative interpretations. He asserts that both males and females contribute seminal fluids to the formation of the embryo, a view that reflects prevalent beliefs in his time period. He describes the anatomy of the male and female reproductive organs, including the testes, ovaries, uterus, and fallopian tubes. He accurately identifies the role of the uterus in nurturing the developing fetus, but he does not fully comprehend the process of fertilization. He argues that the embryo undergoes a series of developmental stages, gradually acquiring its characteristic features. He proposes that the heart is the first organ to form, followed by the brain and other vital organs. He suggests that the different parts of the body are shaped by a formative faculty, which guides the development of the embryo according to a preordained plan. Galen's understanding of embryology is limited by the lack of sophisticated tools for observing the early stages of development. His interpretations are often based on reasoning by analogy and on philosophical principles about the nature of generation. Despite these limitations, his contributions to embryology represent an ambitious attempt to understand the complex processes of reproduction and development, laying the groundwork for future investigations in this field. Section 8. The teleological argument revisited. Throughout on the usefulness of the parts of the body, Galen consistently reinforces his teleological argument for the purposeful design of the human body. He emphasizes that every anatomical structure and every physiological process serves a specific function, contributing to the overall well-being and survival of the organism. He uses numerous examples to illustrate this point, highlighting the intricate adaptations of various organs and systems to their respective roles. He argues that the complexity and elegance of anatomical design provide compelling evidence for the existence of a divine intelligence that has fashioned the body with foresight and intention. He criticizes those who attribute anatomical features to chance or necessity, arguing that such explanations are inadequate to account for the remarkable order and harmony of the human body. He suggests that just as a skilled craftsman carefully designs and constructs a complex machine, so too has nature intelligently designed and constructed the human body. Galen's teleological argument reflects his deep-seated belief in the rationality and purposefulness of the natural world. It serves as a unifying theme throughout his anatomical and physiological investigations, shaping his interpretations of organ function and informing his overall understanding of the human body. While this teleological perspective has been challenged by modern evolutionary biology, It remains an important aspect of Galenic medicine and provides valuable insight into the philosophical context in which his scientific investigations were conducted. Section 9. Galen's methodology and empirical observations. Galen's approach to anatomical investigation relies heavily on empirical observation and dissection. He meticulously examines the bodies of animals, primarily apes and pigs, to gain a detailed understanding of anatomical structures. He emphasizes the importance of careful dissection, urging his readers to pay close attention to the relationships between different organs and tissues. He recognizes the limitations of animal dissection for understanding human anatomy, acknowledging that there are differences between the anatomical structures of different species. Nonetheless, he argues that animal dissection provides a valuable starting point for anatomical investigation and can offer important insights into human anatomy. In addition to dissection, Galen also relies on clinical observation to inform his understanding of physiological processes. He carefully observes the symptoms and signs of disease and attempts to correlate these observations with underlying anatomical and physiological abnormalities. He emphasizes the importance of taking a detailed medical history from patients and of carefully examining their bodies for signs of illness. Galen's emphasis on empirical observation and clinical experience represents a significant departure from earlier speculative approaches to medicine. He advocates for a more systematic and evidence-based approach to medical practice, laying the foundation for future advances in medical science. Section 10. The influence of earlier thinkers. Galen's anatomical and physiological theories are deeply influenced by the ideas of earlier Greek philosophers and physicians, especially Hippocrates and Aristotle. From Hippocrates, Galen adopts the concept of the four humours, which he believes are essential for maintaining health and balance in the body. He argues that illness results from an imbalance in the four humours, and he proposes that medical treatment should aim to restore balance to the humoral system. From Aristotle, Galen derives his teleological perspective on nature, his emphasis on observation and classification, and his belief in the importance of understanding the final course of things. He adopts Aristotle's concept of the soul as the animating principle of living beings, and he identifies different types of souls responsible for different functions. Galen integrates these earlier philosophical and medical ideas into his own anatomical and physiological framework, creating a comprehensive and influential system of medicine that would dominate Western thought for centuries. His synthesis of existing knowledge, combined with his own original observations and interpretations, solidified his position as a pivotal figure in the history of medicine, though many of the inherited theories would eventually be disproven through increasingly sophisticated observation and experimentation. Section 11. Contemporary reception and critiques. During Galen's lifetime and in the centuries following his death, his anatomical and physiological theories were widely accepted and revered. His writings became canonical texts in medical education, and his authority was rarely questioned. However, some contemporary physicians raised objections to certain aspects of Galen's theories. For example, some challenged his reliance on animal dissection for understanding human anatomy, arguing that there were significant differences between the anatomical structures of humans and animals. Others questioned his humoral theory, suggesting that it was overly simplistic and did not adequately account for the complexities of disease. Despite these criticisms, Galen's influence remained dominant, and his anatomical and physiological theories continued to shape medical thinking for centuries. The prevailing acceptance of his work often stifled independent inquiry. Questioning Galen became tantamount to questioning the very foundation of medical knowledge. The power of his intellectual framework, compounded by the societal structures that supported it, ensured the longevity of his ideas, even in the face of accumulating evidence to the contrary. Section 12. Subsequent revisions and interpretations. Over the centuries, Galen's anatomical and physiological theories underwent various revisions and reinterpretations. Medieval Islamic scholars, made significant contributions to Galenic medicine, translating and preserving Galen's writings and adding their own commentaries and interpretations. During the Renaissance, renewed interest in classical learning led to a rediscovery of Galen's works and a more critical examination of his theories. Renaissance anatomists, such as Andreas Vesalius, challenged some of Galen's anatomical assertions based on their own dissections of human bodies. Vesalius' De Humani Corporis Fabrica presented a more accurate depiction of human anatomy than Galen's, marking a turning point in the history of anatomical knowledge. Despite these challenges, Galen's influence remained strong, and his anatomical and physiological theories continued to inform medical practice well into the early modern period. His work provided a foundation upon which later scientists would build, even as they corrected its errors and expanded its scope. Galen's enduring legacy is a testament to the power of his intellect and the comprehensiveness of his system, even if that system ultimately required revision in the light of new discoveries. Section 13. The enduring significance of Galen's work. Despite the many advances in anatomical and physiological knowledge that have occurred since Galen's time, On the Usefulness of the Parts of the Body remains a significant work in the history of medicine. It exemplifies Galen's meticulous observational skills, his insightful interpretations of organ function, and his commitment to understanding the human body as a rationally designed and purposeful entity. It provides valuable insight into the intellectual context in which Galenic medicine developed and the philosophical assumptions that underpinned his anatomical and physiological investigations. His work laid the foundation for future advances in anatomical and physiological knowledge, providing a framework within which later scientists could build. His meticulous attention to detail, his emphasis on empirical observation, and his commitment to understanding the functional significance of anatomical structures continue to inspire modern researchers. Although many of Galen's specific theories have been superseded by more accurate and sophisticated models, his work serves as a reminder of the importance of careful observation, reasoned interpretation, and the pursuit of knowledge in the advancement of medical science. In conclusion, On the Usefulness of the Parts of the Body represents a monumental achievement in the history of anatomical and physiological thought. Through meticulous observation, reasoned argument, and a deep-seated belief in the purposeful design of the human body, Galen constructed a comprehensive system of medicine that would dominate Western thought for centuries. While modern science has revised many of his specific claims, the significance of his work endures as a testament to the power of human intellect and the enduring quest to understand the intricate workings of the human body. His dedication to understanding the human body, combined with his enduring influence on medical thought, underscores his preeminence as a figure of lasting importance in the annals of medicine.
We really appreciate you tuning in to this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.